Bust it.
Hello and thanks for staying with us. Welcome to Political Platform. My name is Amechi Anakwe. Today is Thursday, November 25, 2018, the day the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, is set to announce the names of presidential candidates and their running mates and those the parties have put up to contest for seats in both chambers of the National Assembly, the Senate, and the House of Representatives. Because of what happened in some parties, especially the ruling party, there's still some controversy. People are not sure whether their names actually made it to the list submitted by the party to INEC. So there's apprehension on the part of those members of the APC wishing to go into the National Assembly. But by the time INEC announced the names on the list, they will understand the direction that to follow. Just as we expect the electoral body to also do same on November 9. That was when they will be publishing the names of governorship candidates of the parties alongside those contesting for seats into the state houses of assembly. The coffee in Kaduna has been relaxed, situation under control, but it's still dawn to dusk. Movement is still restricted, but at least during the day, people can easily move around. The organized labor has given what it called the last warning, final warning before it embarks on a strike action. It has said come November 6th is going to ground the nation because of the refusal of the federal government or the Nigerian government to approve a 30,000 naira minimum wage. Now, take a look at the APC, what is happening. I mentioned earlier about the party and its problems with the choice of candidates for the various positions in the forthcoming 2019 general elections. Pressures on the chairman of the party to resign. Some people have called on him to resign. Some others are working towards his resignation. Some governors have been named. The governor of Ondo State, Rotimi Akeredolu, the governor of Ogun State, Ibukunle Amosu, they have been named. Some other chieftains of the party, such as Oso Kechukwu, the Director General of Voice of Nigeria, have publicly said Adams Oshemole is the problem of the party. But the party has fired back. Adams Oshemole said they are simply bad losers who have refused to accept their fate. The Imo State governor's name was also included, and they have refused to accept the fact that they lost primary election. The people they were putting forward could not make it. They should simply go back, sit at home and sulk, rather than indeed coming out in the public to link the name of Adams Oshemole to it. Very interesting times. So in APC, we shall be going into the problem of APC, especially in Zamfara State. We know whether Zamfara State will be fielding candidates for the National Assembly election when the INEC announces the names today. Recall that INEC told Zamfara State APC that it did not conduct a party primary within the stipulated time frame. So, no show for APC. But the party said no, we won't take that. We'll be fielding candidates. But before then, we'll be having a guest in the studio to take a look at what happened in Zamfara State as far as the APC governorship primary is concerned. The various interest groups there, they fought themselves to a standstill, leading to a situation where INEC had to wield the big stick. My colleagues are here with me in the studio. Uju Ejeye, welcome to Political Platform.
Amechi, I believe that the APC should do something to put its house in order as quickly as possible. The numerous problems, the numerous crises, especially at this time, very short period to the election is not good for the party. And some people have said maybe Adams Oshomole should go to somebody like Audu Ogbe, to help him out. Audu Ogbe, remember, was the national chairman of the PDP. And he faced, a crisis too within the party. But the matured way in which he was said to have handled the situation helped the party not to disintegrate at that time. Remember, even when he was sent off and, was it Gemade, Senator Gemade came in, he still managed to maintain decorum within the party. I think, according to those who were talking, that Adams Oshiomhole should play the role of a father more and talk less.
Oh, but that did not prevent the ouster of Adams Oshiomhole, a move that was spearheaded by the then president, ouster of Audu Ogbe, rather. Yes. A move spearheaded by the then president, Olusegun Obasanjo, who, despite eating pounded yam, sharing a pounded yam meal in his home, still made sure that Adams Audu Ogbe was ousted as PDP chairman.
He wasn't even only Audu Ogbe. If you recall, late Dr. Chuba Okadigbo, he also ate pounded yam within 2 days to his outside in the Senate.
Danced with him.
Exactly. And he was quite prominent at that party for the housewarming of Dr. Chuba Okadigbo. Be that as it may, the conduct of Audu Ogbe is what people are pointing at. That in the face of all of that, he was calm, he was mature about it.
Mustafa Muhammad is also right with us in this studio.
Thank you very much, Amechi. You can see the fire Adams Oshiomhole is receiving after what for many have said is a kind of use and dump being meted out to him. But in all these crises between the governors who want to remove Adams Oshiomhole and, of course, the party's national chairman, what is the benefit of the Nigerian people? The PDP in the past, under when the federal government was a PDP government for 16 years, we have seen the changes of the various party chairmen as well as National Assembly leaders. But if the Nigerian people will analyze what have they benefited since the return of democracy in 1999, I believe that there's no much to show. Cholera is still killing people. You have bad roads, epileptic electricity generation and supply, massive corruption. The index of international organizations about Nigeria is still very poor. I think there is need for the Nigerian people to take up the gauntlet, to take up the challenge to, change the way things are. You don't need to come out to the street and demonstrate or carry any weapon. Most people, what's the latest statistic of those who have registered, for the PVC? You can wisely use your PVC, permanent voters card. Don't follow this debate about who is from my religion, who is from my tribe, who is from my region. Look at the things they have failed to do and look out for people who are honest, who can do it. But of course, we are not looking for angels. Human beings are not angels. There is no human being without fault. Look for somebody who can still do those things despite his fault. The general election is coming. After the general election, if you choose the wrong people and they fail to deliver like all those you have voted in the past, then you don't have basis to complain. But if they bring money, collect it too. If they bring money, because the money belongs to you.
Okay, it's not just within the APC that you have some issues that needs to be resolved. The PDP's choice of P2B and the processes is still what many people kicked against the leaders of the party in the southeast, leading to rumors that Deputy Senate President Ike Ekweremadu is negotiating, that the APC was reaching out to him with a view to getting him over to their camp. But what we heard is that the presidential candidate of the PDP, Atiku Abubakar, has linked up with the Deputy Senate President. One of the dailies reported this morning that he called him from outside the country where he presently is, and is trying to make up for the fact that he wasn't consulted in not just the choice of P2B, but also in the processes leading to the composition of the Presidential Campaign Council. They say if he had played that role, for PDP, he needed to be consulted. Good enough, the PDP and the East presidential candidate are moving ahead to resolve the issues. We'll take your mails now. After your mails, we'll come back to take reports. And remember, our guest is still in the studio.
Hello and welcome to the mail segment. I am Etenikang Akepu. We're beginning with a mail under approval of the medium-term expenditure framework and fiscal strategic paper. Monday Ame in Abuja says, I wish to commend the Federal Executive Council, FEC, for approving the medium-term expenditure framework, MTEF, and fiscal strategic paper, FSP, for 2019 and 2021 at its Wednesday meeting, which kick-started preparations for 2019 budget. The proposed budget of 8.73 trillion naira for the 2019 fiscal year, which is 400 billion naira, or 4.5% lower than the 9.12 trillion naira budgeted in 2018, with key parameters and assumptions that pegged oil price benchmark at $60 per barrel, oil production for next year at 2.3 million barrels per day, and exchange rate put at 305 naira per dollar, while growth rate is 3.01%, looks promising and implementable. The MTEF and FSP, which is designed to translate strategic development objectives of the Economic Recovery and Growth Plan, ERGP, into a realistic and implementable budget framework for the medium term, is a welcome development. And moving on to looming labor strike, Amazin Wobosi in Abuja says, the organized labor has issued notice of their strike to commence on November 6 over failure of government to agree on the proposed 30,000 naira minimum wage and the anti-labor law of no work, no pay issued by the federal government. Strikes does not do anyone any good and adversely affects the economy. I call on the federal government to engage labor now that there is still time to avert the strike rather than the unusual fire brigade approach. And this is it on the mail segment for today. Keep your mails coming. Send them to Political Platform at raypower.fm. The program continues with Amechi Anakwe.
Thank you so much for staying with us. The medium-term expenditure framework was approved by the Federal Executive Council yesterday. That's the 2019 to 2022 MTEF. It is the forerunner to the 2019 budget that will soon find its way to the National Assembly. Some assumptions there. Crude oil price of $60 per barrel. Daily production at level 2.3 million barrels. I find that very ambitious. I think presently we are doing about 2 million barrels per day, but the government is hopeful that with the sustained peace in the Niger Delta, the militants being kept quiet, we can hit 2.3 million barrels per day in oil production. So, as usual, we are late. By our Laws Fiscal Responsibility Act, the MTEF is supposed to have gotten to the National Assembly by September, but this is end of October. It is yet to get to the National Assembly. It should be on its way, but unfortunately, the Senate is on a 2-week recess. The House of Representatives yesterday followed the part of the Senate in passing the Electoral Act Amendment Bill. So all the issues have been resolved. The bill will soon get to the President for his assent. And again, the key thing there is the use of card reader as sole means of accrediting voters, card reader or any other electronic device.
That was the key difference between what was passed by the Senate and what was passed by the House of Representatives, because the Senate said only card reader, even if the card reader does not work 3 hours before the end of voting, the exercise should be moved till the next day. But the House says card reader or any other electronic device. I believe that by the time the harmonization committee is set up, they should be able to come to an agreement so that the law can be, the bill can be signed into law as soon as possible because of the closeness of the elections. And then talking about the medium-term expenditure framework, it is not the medium-term expenditure framework that should get to the National Assembly by September. Actually, because it precedes the presentation of the budget and because the budget is predicated on assumptions from the medium-term expenditure framework and, it should have been there before September. It is the budget, according to the Fiscal Responsibility
That should be there by
Act, that should be
September.
there
The
by
medium-term
September.
expenditure framework should have been
Maybe by June, July.
approved by the National Assembly
Before
the
presentation
budget
of the-
gets to the National Assembly
by
in September.
So we're still going round the same old circles. Now, we're talking about MTEF. We're not even talking about the budget
the
yet.
budget
And then by
itself.
the time the budget comes in December, and then everybody expects the National Assembly to pass it by January, they have often argued that it doesn't work that way because they have to peruse every item on the document.
Unfortunately, whenever the budget gets there, or even the MTEF, if the Senate comes back from recess, it will almost be November 18 when campaigns for National Assembly and presidential election
Perhaps
will
would have
commence.
started,
You
yes.
expect most of them who will be seeking re-election not to be in Abuja, but in their constituencies,
we're in
campaigning.
For a very long time, the issue of this passing the budget and budget implementation have been one monstrous issue in our system. When you look at the spreadsheet from 1999, when democracy returned, till now, just check out how many percentage of the budget were implemented year in, year out. In fact, both the executive and legislative are usually quarreling about figures, but the issue of budget implementation, which is supposed to take the forefront, is always neglected. And you have carryover of capital projects. One project, awarded today, lasting for 10 years. I can give you a typical example. Look at the 5 sections of the Kano-Maiduguri Highway. Awarded in 2006, in
Yes.
2018, we are going to 2019. The road has not been completed. Look at Abuja-Lokoja Highway.
Same 2006. Look at the East-West Road, same 2006.
So, they are scattered all over Nigeria. What about construction of dams, hospitals? Everybody wants to rush to Europe or America to go and treat every ailment, including cough and catarrh. The hospitals are just there. You are paying doctors. No equipment, no good environment, many machineries in the hospitals are, women and children dying. It's not really, these people are not fair to the Nigerian populace.
I think I agree with you. It's a collective shame that in 2006, that's 12 years ago, 3 major road contracts were awarded, Abuja, Lokoja, East-West Road, and Kano-Maiduguri. They are yet to be completed. Very sad. But the key issue coming out from the amendment of the Electoral Act that was achieved by both chambers of the National Assembly yesterday was the place of card reader. No incidence form. Recall what happened in Rivers State, what happened in Kano State in 2015, where incredible figures turned up for the PDP candidate and APC candidate. Now, as they are being accredited, the Abuja station of INEC grounds monitoring station will be seeing what is happening on ground. So we are going to, in 2019 general election, we'll most likely see realistic figures in terms of voter turnout. But let's take you to Zamfara State. Maybe subsequently we'll talk more on the issue of the amendment of the Electoral Act and the many provisions contained therein. That would have been maybe after the president would have assented to it. Let's welcome Mohammed Salihu, public affairs commentator and political analyst. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
We'll be taking a look at the APC Zamfara primaries. INEC says there is no candidate for APC in Zamfara. Do you agree with them?
No, I think there are a lot of issues involved, but if you want a straightforward answer, I'll tell you that there are candidates, elections were duly conducted, and the list of the outcome of the elections were forwarded to the Independent National Electoral Commission. They have the list, but they are insisting that
was INEC at that primary that was conducted?
Of course.
Because I know they do send in representatives.
Yes. All right. I want you to, and I want Nigerians to take a look at the national dailies, specifically This Day and Daily Trust. The entire issue was captured in the presence of the resident electoral commissioner, who was the eyes and ears of INEC in Zamfara. It was conducted in the presence of the police commissioner and their teams, and all of them endorsed the papers.
Did the INEC representative
But we are also aware that
he did.
We are aware that the APC in Zamfara State is factionalized, and we are also aware of a previous court injunction where an order for the maintenance of status quo was issued. So the question I want to ask you is which of the APCs in Zamfara conducted, or if it's only one APC that conducted the primaries, while the other people, the 7, 8, 9 aspirants who say they are not going to go with the governor's endorsement of his commissioner, were they also part of the primary that took place?
There was a due process. Okay, let me characterize it in this way. There was the presiding officers of the APC in Zamfara, and the presiding officers of the APC in Zamfara should be and was the state working committee, the exco of the party. They were there. And so if other people paraded themselves as a faction, it's a different kettle of fish altogether. That does not stop the known, quote unquote, exco of the party that were there and the Independent National Electoral Commission, represented by the resident electoral commissioner and the state police commissioner and their teams. And I say it again, look at the national dailies, This Day and Trust. This issue was captured in it. Now, it is not an abnormal thing to have differences in a party. And it is not a very, the Nigerian political scene is has a lot of history.
So those differences are normal. Now the court has said, let the status quo remain. The APC in Zamfara went to court to challenge INEC's decision not to include it in the National Assembly ballot. What do you mean? What do you interpret to be that status quo? Because some people have said it means let the action taken by INEC stand, or should it be let the primary you said was conducted be recognized?
I think the status quo ab initio meant the outcome of the elections, because there wasn't any election that was conducted by any other party other than the election results that seemingly is being contested by others. You know, they have all the right to do so. But what is paramount is the fact that an election was held, results were pronounced, candidates were sent to the presiding authority, which is the Independent National Electoral Commission. There wasn't any parallel election that was held elsewhere. So if you talk about status quo literally, I mean, it entails that the status quo is what obtained. Now, we can continue to agonize and, pontificate over these things. To me, the crux of the matter is to look at the Nigerian democracy. What does the Zamfara imbroglio tells you or tell Nigerians about the color and the fashion of our democracy? Is it good for the country to have an election in 2019 where a ruling party at the federal level does not have a representation in any state?
How did APC in Zamfara get to this point? Because at some point it seemed as if the chairman, it was a battle between the governor Abdulaziz Yari and Chairman Adams Oshomole. It's almost it's a usual pattern, if you like. Zamfara just happens to be, for a political scientist, probably is a case study that we may take it to the next level in subsequent years to look back and say, oh, Zamfara has gone this way, or even the case of Lagos. There is a pattern in terms of our own political culture and our political socialization, where you have disagreements between a sitting governor and the structure of the party, be it at the state or at the national level. It has happened in Lagos with Jagaba. So why was Zamfara's case different?
Zamfara's case was different because the dramatis persona, a lot of them have their guns ranged against, the governor. Instead of them to look at the party, the governor became the issue. Instead of looking at the structure, the individual became, seen as the problem. And the governor has always, I think, in my view, maintained that, look, this process should be obeyed. Now,
maybe the people felt the governor was already at home with his was it the Commissioner of Finance that he was going to make sure that he merged. Maybe that may be they threw up that suspicion.
No, I wouldn't say so, because it is the way Nigerian politics play out. Whenever you have a governor, Konkoso anointed Ganduje, in virtually every state, if you extrapolate the discussion across the national canvas, you'll discover that in virtually every state, wherever a governor was living, or a sitting governor was living, he had someone, either his kitchen cabinet or his minders or people that are close to him, even by his own attitude, or what people would call, a euphemism for body language, would tell you that this governor supports a certain candidate, and the others will join. So,
but in the APC case, the APC national leadership in Abuja did not hack into the governor of Imo State, Ogun State, and Zamfara State.
Yes, it will play out in a manner, in my view, that the odds will favor the status quo, which is the results that have been sent to INEC by the EXCO in Zamfara. Now, let me put it this way. Nigerians should look at the issue dispassionately within the context of what it spells out to our democracy. And I said this, in the last 20 years or so, Zamfara has been virtually APC, virtually ANPP, and then transmuted into APC. It's a loyal state for the party. And to me, as a political analyst, my concern is, what does this, tell of our democracy? Is it good for the nation that you go into a national election, or 2019
without a ruling
election,
party,
without a winning party fielding a candidate?
Now, lastly, is Governor Yari one of those plotting for the removal of Adams Oshiomhole?
No, I think probably the minders of Governor Yari will answer that more appropriately. But I want to believe that Governor Yari is just an onlooker, so to say.
In the whole scenario.
In the whole scenario,
he's
because he's the chairman of the Nigerian Governors Forum. I think he is apolitical in that respect. He wants probably to see the outcome, in a manner that the rules and regulations
the game is
and
played according to the rules.
Democracy are played according to the rules.
Mohammed Salih, who is a public affairs commentator and a political analyst, and he has weighed in on the controversies surrounding the APC governorship primary in Zamfara State. Thank you so much.
Thank you so very much. It's a very warm, atmosphere, and a very credible team. I hope this will not be the last.
No, definitely.
I will show my voice here.
Again. Thank you so much for coming around. That's it for today. Join us tomorrow for another edition. My name is Amechi, and we'll have a good time.
Bust it.